Hari Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaskara to all. Sadashiva Samharambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Shubhodaya. This is your host Soumya. Welcome everyone to the yet another session of morning edition of the Global Festival of Oneness. This is a month-long festival on Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada, covering various aspects and topics of Advaita Vedanta, organized by Indica Moksha. Today we have an interesting topic, that is narrative and insights, metaphors and stories in the philosophy of Śaṅkara by Manjushree Hegde. A very short introduction on her. Manjushree Hegde is currently working as a research scholar at IIT Madras, and her primary area of interest is Advaita Vedanta, which she studied traditionally under Brahmashri Ashwath Narayana Avadhani. So the format is around for 15 minutes you can speak, and the last 10 minutes we should hold question and answer sessions. Kindly start, Manjushree.
Advaita Sampradaya. Namaste. Very good morning to everybody, and a very big thank you to Advaita Academy for inviting me to be a part of this Global Festival of Oneness. A very beautiful way to celebrate the Jayanti of Shankara Bhagavadpada Acharya. Today I will discuss some very simple, very beautiful stories and examples found in the commentaries of Shankaracharya. That Shankaracharya was a towering intellectual and extraordinary philosopher is widely acknowledged. However, his prowess as an instructor, as a teacher, as an acharya remains relatively obscure, and it warrants equal admiration. Within his erudite commentaries is an abundance of simple narratives, simple, beautiful analogies and exemplifications, meticulously interwoven at every step of the way to help or to facilitate the students' assimilation of very abstract philosophical intricacies. So Shankaracharya uses common facets of everyday life, relatable connections that resonate with the learner's immediate perceptual domain. So very difficult, very complex and convoluted subject matters become or undergo a remarkable transformation, be transmute into very simple, very comprehensible constructs. So such pedagogical finesse is the quintessence of this exceptional philosopher. It epitomizes his profound ability to impart highly abstract philosophy in an exquisitely simple way. So today I want to share or discuss some of these very simple, beautiful stories and narratives and metaphors and analogies that Shankaracharya uses in his commentaries. Let me share my screen with you. We'll start with how Shankaracharya teaches the method of Vedanta, the method of Adhyaropapada. Now, Adhyaropapada is a strategy that consists of two complementary operations, Adhyaropa and Apapada. A very simple definition of this, the essence of this method is that imaginary characteristics are first deliberately attributed to the absolute. This serves to negate whatever is incompatible with those characteristics. Later, the final metaphysical truth is inculcated by negating even the falsely attributed characteristics through a comprehensive denial of all particular superpositions on the absolute. So this is the method of Vedanta. This is the method that Shruti employs throughout in order to inculcate or to teach Brahman. And Shankaracharya illustrates this with a very simple example. He says, Yatha eka prabhritya parardha sankhyaru swarupa parijnanaya rekadhyaropanam kritva ekeyam rekha dasheyam shateyam sahasreyam iti grahayati avagamayati sankhya swarupam kevalam natu sankhyayaha rekhatmatvam eva. In order to teach numbers from 1 up to 100 or 1,000 or billions, what do? We superimpose them on certain lines. Think in terms of an abacus. We know that an abacus is a tool with the beads arranged on the rods. Each bead represents a specific value, such as 1 or 10 or 100. By manipulating the beads on the abacus, we can visually represent and understand the concept of numbers. The beads are not themselves the numbers. The beads are not the numbers, but they serve as a means to explain and work with numbers. They are not the essence of the numbers themselves. Similarly, yathacha akaradi nyakshara aksharani vijigraishuhu patramashi rekhadi samyogopayam asthaya varnanam satatvam avedayati. In order to teach the alphabet, we use a combination of ink and lines. Through them, we explain the nature of the letters. We draw an akara, we draw lines, squiggly lines, and say that this represents the sound a. It is an imaginary device. There is no real relationship between this drawing, this squiggly thing that I have made, and the sound akara. There's absolutely no relationship between the two. This relationship is a superimposition. It is not true, it is imagined. Why is it imagined? Because it serves a purpose. In order to serve a purpose, I superimpose something upon something. This is exactly how the method works. Shankaracharya says, Tatha cha iha Utpatyadhanekopayam asthaya brahmatattvam aveditam. In the exposition of Vedanta, the one entity Brahman is taught by superimposing various false characteristics upon Brahman, characteristics that don't define Brahman. For example, Brahman is called the Karana of the world. There is no Karana, there is no Karya. But as a method of teaching the unteachable Brahman, a Kalpita Upaya is adopted. Brahman is called Karana in order to establish Karya Karana Ananyatva, that the world is not an independent entity. In order to say this, you superimpose Karanatva on Brahman and later remove even this superimposition. Finally, the truth is inculcated only as not this and not that. Neti neti punaha tat kalpitopaya janita vishesha parishodhanartham neti neti iti tattvopasamhara kritaha. So the imaginary characteristics are first deliberately attributed to Brahman. This is called adhyaropa. It is a shastrakrita adhyaropa, a deliberate superposition. Serves to negate whatever is incompatible with those characteristics. It serves to negate the naisargika adhyaropa, the natural adhyaropas. Later, the final metaphysical truth is inculcated by negating even the shastrakrita adhyaropa. Absolute, complete denial of all superpositions on Brahman. This is the method of adhyaropa. It is the method of the Upanishads. It's very subtle, very difficult to understand how to apply it throughout, how to understand it throughout the Upanishads. And Shankaracharya gives a very simple example of how this method works. Let's look at the next one. As an example of the same, in the text of Prasthanatraya, the Shastrakrita adhyaropa occurs on 3 distinct levels. The level of words, at the level of sentences, and at the level of the methodological procedures, the prakriyas that is employed to articulate the input. Most words of the Shrutis are essentially adhyaropas. So this discussion occurs in the Chandogya Bhashya. Here the Purva Pakshi says, does not the word Atman denote the Atman? When you say Atman, are you not saying Atman? Are you not denoting Atman? Atma nanu Atma Pyatma Shabdena Abhidhiyate. So Shankaracharya says no. No, the word Atman, it is not possible to directly denote it. And we have Shruti Vakya as a pramana for this. Yato Vakloni Vartante, etc. So the Purva Pakshi asks again, how then do texts such as Atmaivad Adasthat, that Atman is below, Sa Atma, etc., reveal the Atman? How is it that these texts reveal the Atman? Katham Atmeti Shabdaha Atmanam Pratyayayanti. To this, Shankaracharya says, Naisha doshaha Dehavati Pratyagatmani Bheda Vishaye Prayujyamanaha Shabdaha Dehadinam Atmatve Pratyakhyayamane Yat Parishishtam Sat Avachyamapi Pratyayayati. The term Atman serves as a means for identifying it in contradistinction to the corporeal vehicle that it inhabits. The term Atman is an adhyaropa. The aim of saying or invoking the term Atman is not its designation per se, but to draw attention to its distinctiveness from all the non-self entities, to discriminate it from the non-self reference, the body, mind, etc. So, Dehavati Pratyagatmani Bheda Vishaye Prayujyamanaha Shabdo Dehadinam Atmatve Pratyakhyayamane Yat Parishishtam Sat Avachyamapi Pratyayati. Yatha, for instance, Sarajikayam Drishyamanayam Senayam Chhatra Dhvaja Pataka Divya Vahide Drishyamanepi Rajanyesha Raja Drishyata iti bhavati Shabda Prayogaha Tatra Osau Rajeti Raja Vishesha Drupanayam Drishyamane Taratyakhyane Anyasmin Adrishyamanepi Rajani Raja Pratitir Bhavati. Tadvat. When an army is with the king, is seen marching along with umbrellas and flags and paraphernalia, and the king is actually hidden by all this paraphernalia, not visible, yet we will use the expression that the king is seen. Raja drishyata iti bhavati shabda prayogaha. But if you ask who is the king, who exactly are you referring to when you say the king is seen? The king is not really visible. Ask, Kosau Rajeti, Raja Vishesha Nirupanayam. You try to look for the particular person who is the king. And how do you do this? You dismiss everyone who is actually visible as not being the king. And as a result of elimination, you conclude that the person who is not visible is the king. Exactly similar is the case of Atman. The word only serves to eliminate what it is not. This is the method of Adhyaropa and Apavada. The Adhyaropa serves to eliminate whatever is incompatible with it and is itself then negated. A very nuanced, very important method. And Shankaracharya illustrates it by means of umpteen examples. Now let us try to understand this better. Now we said that the Shruti adopts Adhyaropa Apavada to teach Brahman. Why is this? See, that Shruti or Upanishads is the pramana for Brahman is well established. It is beyond question. Shankaracharya says this in unequivocal terms in innumerable instances. Ahiram atigambhiram bhavayathatmam mukti nibandhanam agamamantarena utprekshitamapi shakyam. Not possible to even guess about Brahman without Shruti. And he says, Brahma, Sarvajnam, Sarvashakti, Jagadutpatti, Sthiti, Laya Karanam, Vedanta Shastra, Revavagamyate. That Brahman is known only through the Vedas. Vedanta Shastra, Revavagamyate. But elsewhere, Shankaracharya says that the Atman cannot be known through any of these instruments of knowledge. Why? Because A, it cannot be objectified. It cannot become an object of knowledge. And B, it is prior to and outside the realm of Pramana and Prameya. It is only after the Atman stands under the sway of Avidya as a Pramatri that the Pramanas come into play. Siddhehi Atmani Pramatari, Pramitsoho Pramananveshana Bhavati. Only when the self stands predetermined as the knower can there be a search for means of knowledge by the knower. Nahi purvam itham aham ite atmanam apramaya paschatprameya parichedaya pravartate. Without first determining myself as itham aham ite atmanam apramaya, I cannot take up the task of determining an object of knowledge. So atmanatmano itaretarabhyasam Puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavahara. There is no pramana prameya vyavahara without dhyasa, without ignorance. The pramana prameya vyavahara is founded on ignorance. So we cannot know the Atman through any of the pramanas because the pramanas belong to the realm of avidya. Furthermore, it's unnecessary to know or establish the Atman through pramanas because it is svatasiddha, self-evident. It is already known intimately to each of us as our own self. These statements beget a question. How does Shruti then aid the realization of the Atman? Does it describe or define Brahman like it does Dharma and Svarga? Dharma and Svarga are deemed incomprehensible without Shruti. So in a similar manner, does the Shruti inform us of Brahman's existence and its identity with Atman? No. The function of Shruti as a pramana lies not in the communication of an unknown or unattained entity. It lies in the elimination of the wrong ideas about the ever-attained, immediately intuited, yet misconstrued Brahman. To demonstrate this, Shankaracharya tells us a story. Kaschit kila manushyo Mugdhaha Kaishchid uktaha kasminchid aparadhe sati dhikvam nasi manushya iti. Once, a very gullible, naive man committed a crime and was chastised. You are not human. Dhikvam nasi manushya iti. Even today we use phrases like you are an animal or you're a beast to chastise violent or cruel or uncivilized behavior. So in a very similar manner, this man was told, Dhikvam nasi manushya. You're not a human being to have committed such a crime. You're not a man. Now this man was so naive, so gullible, that he really believed that he is not a man. He believed this to be the literal truth. So he approached another man and asked him, what then am I? Bravitu bhavan koham asmeti. So mugdhataya atmano amanushyattvam pratyayaitum kanchid upetyaha bravitu bhavan koham asmeti. The other man, perceiving his naivete, said tasya mugdhatam jnatva aha. He said, I will teach you what you are slowly and step by step. Kramena bodhayishyami. Then, sthavarat atma bhavam apohya natvam amanushya ityukva upararama. He started from sthavarat. He started from non-living things, showed him step by step that he was not non-human. Sthavaradhyatma bhavam apohya natvam amanushya ityukva upararama. He showed him that he was not non-human, nasi amanushya, and fell silent. The gullible man said, Bhavan mam bodhayitum pravrittaha tushnima bhuva kim na bodhayati. You said that you will teach me what I am. You have now taught me what I am not, and you are now silent. Why don't you teach me what I am? Who am I? Here, Shankaracharya says very significantly, he who cannot understand that he is human, when told you are not non-human, cannot comprehend it, even if told you are human. Nasi amanushya ityukte api manushyattvamatma atmano na pratipadyate yaha sa katham manushyosi ityuktopi manushyatvamatmanaha pratipadyeta. If I have to illustrate this with another example, I don't know if many of you have watched Ice Age, the Meltdown, the movie, the Ice Age, the Meltdown. In this movie, there's a character called Ellie, a woolly mammoth, who believes that she's a possum because she was raised by one. She was raised by a possum. Many, many years ago, a lost and frightened calf, separated from her mammoth herd in the midst of a treacherous snowstorm, Ellie seeks refuge near a majestic willow tree, and there she was taken in by a possum mother. The possum mother took Ellie under her wing, made her a part of her own possum family, and Ellie grew up with absolutely no idea, no clue that she was any different from her possum siblings. She believed with every ounce of her being that she was a bona fide possum. Imagine the sight of a majestic woolly mammoth gleefully scampering through the trees like a tiny possum. When told you are a mammoth, Ellie dismisses this as ridiculous. No use in stating you are a mammoth. There's absolutely no use in saying this. You must be shown that you are not a possum. A possum has a tail like this. You don't have a tail like this. A possum has feet like this. You don't have feet like this. So on and so forth. You must be shown step by step that you are not a possum. Once you are shown what you are not, there is nothing else that needs to be done because you are what you are. This aptly demonstrates the crux of Shankaracharya's argument that direct instructions are ineffective in the context of mistaken identities. The problem is not to know the Atman, it is to remove, to expunge the wrong ideas that we entertain about it, which is why Shankaracharya says so beautifully that the person who does not understand that he is a man, when shown that he is not a non-human, will not understand it even if he is told that you are a man or you are human. He will not understand it. If you don't understand it when you're shown what you're not, then you will not understand it if you are told who you are. So the Shruti employs a strictly, rigorously negative method to clear the obfuscations about the self. It cannot directly or positively communicate the Atman. Avidya kalpita bheda nivritti paratvat shastrasya. This is extremely important because the Shruti does not tell us how the Atman is or how Brahman is. It does not tell us that Brahman is Ananda Swarupa. It does not tell us that it is Jnana Swarupa. It does not intend to tell us anything about the Atman or Brahman. That is not how the Shruti works. Scholars like S.K. Murthy, Lipner, etc., they raise this question in their works. They say, cannot words like Nirguna, Advitiya, Nitya Shuddha Buddha, Mukta Svabhavam, Sarvajñam, Sarvashaktiman, Samanvitam, all of these words, do they not function as fair or adequate characterizations of Brahman? The answer is no. The Shruti only aims to remove every misconception that we hold about Atman, about Brahman, and its primary objective is to eradicate those misconceptions. And there's nothing more that needs to be done. Once these misconceptions have been uprooted, the truth stands revealed without any need for any further elaboration. There is no necessity to tell us what the Atman or what Brahman is. It is enough to remove the wrong ideas. In fact, if Shruti has to tell us what Brahman is, then it will simply stay silent. Shankaracharya illustrates this with the story of Bashkali and Madhva. Bashkalinaja Madhva Prishtaha San. Avajaneraiva Brahma Provacheti Shrumati. Sahovacha Adhihi Bhavat Iti Satushni Bahu. Tamha Dvitiye Tritiye va Vachana Vacha. Bhumaha Khalu Tvam tu na vijanasi Upashanto Yamatma Iti. Bashkali approached sage Madhva and said, "Teach me Brahman or Avyatsa." In reply, Madhva said nothing. He kept quiet, remained silent. Satushni Babhuba. Bashkali questioned him a second time, a third time. Tamha Dvitiye Tritiye va Vachana. When questioned a second and a third time, Madhva replied, "Brumaha Khalu, we are telling it, but you do not understand it. Tvam tu na vijanasi upashanto yamatma." So Shruti cannot communicate Brahman directly or positively. It has to be done negatively. And Shankaracharya illustrates this with many examples. I have a cough, I'm very sorry. Another very famous example of mistaken identities that is recounted in the Bhashya. This is very, very famous, but I'll still just read it out. The prince who is brought up in a hunter's family. This occurs in the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya. It is credited to a pre-Shankara Vedantin called Revered. Sampradaya Vidakhyayika Samprajakshate. Kaschit kila Rajaputro Jata Matra Eva Mata Pitrabhyam Apavitho Vyada Grihe Samvardhitaha. A certain prince who happened to be separated from his parents at the very time of his birth was brought up in a hunter's cottage. So, Amushya Vamshyatam Ajananya Vyadha Jati Pratyayo Vyadha Jati Karmanyevana Vartate. Na Rajasmete Raja Jati Karmanyana Vartate. Not knowing his parentage and believing that he belonged to the hunter's caste, he took to the habits natural to a born hunter. Yada punaha kaschit paramakaruniko Rajaputrasya Rajashri Prapti Yogyatam Janan Amushya Putratam Bodhayati Natvam Vyadho Amushya Rajnyaha Putraha Kathanchit Radha Griham Anupravishtaha iti. So when some highly compassionate person, conscious of the prince's aptitude for the attainment of a kingdom, draws his attention to his lineage, disillusions him about his false notion by telling him how he happened to enter the hunter's cottage and brought up there while being the son of such and such a king. So evam bodhitaha kyakva vyadhajati pitte paramani pitra paitamahimatmanaha padavim anuvartate rajaham asmiti. Once he gives up his belief that he was born a hunter, abandoning the habits and actions fit for the born hunter, he adapts himself to his own hereditary status, a Kshatriya. What is illustrated through the story is the fact that the jiva is only mistakenly embroiled in samsara, in the difficult life of the hunter, when in reality it holds the supreme position of the king itself. Tatha kilayam dehendriyadi gahane pravishto asamsari sannan dehendriyadi samsara dharmam anuvartate dehendriya sanghatosmi krishaha sthulaha sukhi dukhi iti paramatmatam ajanan atmanaha. Having entered into the deep forest of this aggregate of body and the senses, the jiva takes on the characteristics of the body, the senses, seen as transmigratory. It suffers, it calls itself krishaha, sthulaha, sukhi. completely unaware of itself as the Supreme Self. When awakened by the Acharya, taught that he is not of this true nature, but really the highest Brahman itself, transcending all of life's misery. Natvam etadatmakaha parameva brahmasi asamsaredi pratibodhitaha acharyena hitvaishanatrayānuvrittim brahmaivasmi iti pratipadyate. When he abandons running after the desires and is confirmed in the knowledge of him, of his being Brahman. Very famous story that is cited by Shankaracharya. It is actually Anandagiri, who in his commentary, in his writings, credits Ramanacharya with this story. There is an issue, Ramanujacharya's followers understand this Dramidacharya as another Dramidacharya. There is a confusion there of is there one Dramidacharya who is the same, who teaches Advaita as well as is the figurehead for Vishishtadvaita, or is it two different Dramidacharyas? Sidestep that issue for now. But a very similar story also occurs in Chandogya. In order to demonstrate the plight of the jiva embroiled in the samsara and the function of the guru in helping the disciple to understand himself, Shankaracharya tells us the story of a man who is kidnapped from Gandhara, blindfolded, bound and tied, left to wander about in the forest until a kind stranger points the way home. Yatha loke, yatha loke purusham yankanchit gandharebhyo janapadebhyo abhinadhaksham baddhachakrusham aniya Vyaharta taskaraha tam abhinadhakshameva baddhahastam aranye opi atijane atigatajane atyanta vigatajane deshe visraje tatra vibhramopetaha yatha shabdam kuryat vikroshe abhinadhakshoham gandhare taskarena abhinadaksha eva visrishtaha. The man has been forcefully brought from the land of Gandhara, with his eyes bound shut, hands tied, turned loose in a deserted forest. What will he do? He will wander in every which direction, east and north and south, confused, frightened, shouting for help, if at that point a person tells him the direction to Gandhara, and he finds his way from village to Gandhara. This is what the Guru does. Shankaracharya also describes this teacher as a boatman, and his right knowledge is called boat. A very famous story anyway. Now, we stated previously that Shruti Pramana also belongs to the realm of avidya. Now there arises one question. If the Pramanas belong to the kshetra of avidya, how is it a Pramana? How can it remove ignorance when it is itself a product of ignorance? How can a product of ignorance remove ignorance? This is taken up in the Arambhana. The interlocutor asks, Kathanchandrutena moksha shastrena pratipaditasya atmaikatvasya satyatvam upapadyete. How is it that Anruta Moksha Shastra, if the Moksha Shastra is itself Anruta, how is it that the Atmaikatva that is established by an Anruta Moksha Shastra, how will it generate or give or lead to realization? Shankaracharya replies that the Veda, although not absolutely real, can nevertheless make the absolutely real known to us. He gives the example, just as a woman or a cobra that is seen in a dream, though false, has physical as well as psychological effects that extend into the waking experience. If a man dreams that he is bitten by a cobra, the fear that is created in the dream, he may even die of that shock. The false dream can become very concrete. It can have a very concrete, very real effect in the waking state. In a very similar way, the Shruti Vakya, although only empirically real, is capable of pointing to the ultimate truth. Approachyate naisha doshaha sarva vyavaharanameva prag brahmatmata vijnanat satyatvopapatteh swapna vyavaharasyeva pragbodhat. This is taken up for discussion in the Naishkarmi Siddhi also. Sureshwaracharya says, Shayanah prayashu loke bodhyamanah svanamabhihi. My throat is gone, I'm very sorry. Sahasaiva prabudhyante yathaiva pratyagatmani nahi nam nasti sambandho vyuddhitasya sharirataha tathapi buddhyate tena yathaivam tattamityataha. He says, we're able to awaken a sleeping person by uttering his name. This is a very common person experience. The process of awakening the innermost self is also very similar. He says, Nahi sharirat vyuddhitasya sharirabhimanat vyuddhaya sthitasya. That is sushuptasya. Person who is in sushupti is not really connected to the Sharira Abhimana anymore. He does not think I am the body. This idea that I am the body does not exist in Sushupti. So Sharira Buddhitasya Sushuptasya Namna Sambandha Grahana Nasti. There is no relationship between that state and the name, like Manjushree. Atha Chatena Shabdena Swasambandhenaiva Nimitta-bhutena Nitram Hitva Buddhyate Yatha Evam Tattvam Vakyadapi Buddhyate Avidya Nirakaranamkhena Ityabhiprayaha. So although there is no real connection between this name and the state of Sushupti, the pronouncement of this name will wake me up from Sushupti. So this is how the Veda Vakyas work, is the idea that Shankaracharya and Sureshwaracharya say. See, elsewhere Sureshwaracharya gives the example of, even though a pot is mithya, it is useful in bringing water. So it is that the Shruti Vakya, although it is mithya, can cause Brahmajnana. The real answer to this question lies in the method of Adhyaropa Bhava. Shruti is said to be a pramana, not because it is a pramana, but only to deny that the Atman can be known by any of the ordinary pramanas. It is an Adhyaropa only. It will be negated at a later stage. But from the empirical point of view, Shankaracharya does furnish certain examples to say this. Another aspect of Shruti Pramana is the question of its self-sufficiency. Is Veda Vakya sufficient for Brahmajnana? To discuss this, Shankaracharya narrates the very, very, very well-known story of the 10th man, the Dashamastamasi. We're very familiar with the story, of course, and it's narrated in almost every pravachana on Vedanta. But unfortunately, it is not narrated correctly in almost every pravachana on Vedanta. The story is, upon having crossed a river, a group of travelers, 10 in number, is counted by one of the members, who repeatedly counts 9. So the growing concern that one of the party has drowned is removed when a passerby points out that the individual, he himself, is the 10th man, Dashamastamasi. The utterance, you are the 10th man, serves immediately both to destroy ignorance and to reveal the truth. In the Neo-Vedantic discourse, in popular Vedanta, this story is often employed to say that you are the witness, the eternal subject. You shine light upon everything else, yet you remain unknown to yourself. If a camera is used to record every object in the room, it records every object in the room but not itself. A torch that shines light on every object in the room does not shine light on itself. So too, the witness is a witness to the play of life. Is not itself a witness. So the parable of 10th man serves to turn the attention, turn the light on the self. This is how the story is usually narrated. But in Shankaracharya's Bhashya, this is not how the parable is interpreted. It is not employed to say that you are the witness. In Shankaracharya's context, this story serves to argue against the necessity of karma before or after moksha. A majority of Vedantis, Advaita Vedantins, traditional and modern, argue that action, karma, some form of action, ritual action, meditation, anything is required to attain moksha. Mere Shravana of the Shruti Vakya is not sufficient for moksha. Some additional effort is necessary. We find this type of argument in pre-Shankara Vedanta and post-Shankara Vedanta. Pre-Shankara Vedantins like Bharta Prapancha argued for Jnana Karma Samachaya, and there is the Prasankhyanavada. Prasankhyanavada is the repetition of Vedanta Vakya. Continuously repeating the Vakya Aham Brahmasmi leads to moksha. This is the argument of the Prasankhyanavada. Right? For example, Mandana Mishra. Vedanta Vakya Janitam Aham Brahma iti Vijnanam Samsargatmakatvat Atmavastu Yathatmya Avagahyeva na Bhavati Kintarhi Etadeva Gangasutavut Satatam Abhyastaha Anyadeva Avakyarthakam Vijnanantaram Utpadyate is the position of the Prasankhyanavada. So Shankaracharya addresses the question of the necessity of karma, of action, frequently, repeatedly, innumerably in his Bhashya. He declares in no uncertain terms that no action is necessary after Vedanta Vakya Shravana. The Vedanta Vakya is the only necessary cause of Brahmajnana, if I can call it a cause. Any action is undertaken only after the identification of the self and non-self. Only after I assume an identification with the body, with the mind, with the instruments of knowledge, is there any vyavahara, laukika or vedika, and every action is based on adhyasa. How can any action performed post-identification, post-adhyasa, remove adhyasa? That is prior to it. That is its cause. Logically impossible. To argue that action here refers both to ritualistic action and upasana. Sureshwaracharya says, to say that action can remove ignorance is like saying tamasi vodhitam tamaha. Like darkness can remove darkness. No, it's not possible. In this context, in the context of self-sufficiency of the Vedanta Vakya for moksha, Shankaracharya cites the story of the 10th man, Dashamastvamasi, to say that when you are told you are the 10th man, you don't need to do anything to become the 10th man, because you're already the 10th man. This is Vastumatra Kathan. Shruti is only stating what is. It is stating a fact. You don't need to do anything to achieve it. When you mistake the rope for the snake, the moment you are told that this is a rope, not a snake, the fear that you felt vanishes. Vastumatra Kathana suffices to remove ignorance. Nothing more needs to be done. Vastumatra Kathanepi Rajuriyam Nayam Sarpaha Ityado Bhanti Janita Bhiti Nivartanenarthatvam Drashtam Arthavatvam Drashtam Tathehapi Asamsaryatma Vastu Kathanena Samsaritva Bhanti Nivartanenarthavatvam Syatvam. So in order to say that jnana, knowledge, correct knowledge is sufficient to remove ignorance, Shankaracharya employs the story of the 10th man. It's a very beautiful story, but it sort of lost its charm and its effectiveness because of overuse. It is retold, recounted in every lecture, but originally it's a very apt, very beautiful story. Shankaracharya mentions this in his Upadesha Sahasya also, in the exact same context. He says, here he raises the Purva Paksha first. He begins with the Purva Paksha position. Yathanubhuyate triptir bhujer vakyan nagamyate. Satisfaction, tripti, occurs or is felt from eating food. It is not experienced from the sentence. If I hear about idli, dosa, bisi bade baat, my stomach is not going to be full. So the Shruti Vakya is not sufficient for moksha. Vakyasya vidhetris tadvat koshak payasi kriya. If you say that the Vakya produces moksha, it is like trying to get boiled milk rice from cow dung. How is it possible? Logically impossible. Cow dung cannot produce delicious rice items, so Vakya cannot produce moksha. To this Shankaracharya replies, In every other case, except for Atma Jnana, what you say holds. Sentences, vakya, can only give rise to indirect knowledge about objects. For example, if I visit a foreign land, come back and describe it to you, you cannot get a direct experience of it through my descriptions. So vakya can only produce indirect knowledge in every case except for Atma Jnana. Satyam evam anatmarthe vakyat आरोक्ष बोधनम प्रत्यगात्मने नत्वेवम संख्या प्राप्ति वद अध्रुवम. It is true that indirect knowledge arises from sentences referring to things other than Atman, but it cannot be doubted that direct knowledge arises from the sentence when the case is that of Atman. Here he refers to the story of the 10th man, Sankhya Prapti Vati Adhruvam. Just as the 10th man was obtained from the sentence Dashamastvamasi, go to the case here. Now we know that the Atman is Nishchala from the Paramartha Drishti. There is no transmigration. To illustrate this, Shankaracharya uses an analogy. He says, Buddhischalati vatma dhyayati vacha drishyate bhogatasya yatha vrikshaha tadvat samsari vibhramaha. Atman, identified with the intellect, is seen as if it were moving and at rest. When the intellect moves and is at rest, Chalati Vatma Dhyayati Drishyate. The mistake about transmigratory existence, the impression that Atman transmigrates, is like that of a man in a moving boat, Naugatasya, who thinks that it is the trees, the stationary trees along the shore, which are moving. Naugatasya yatha vrikshaha tadvat samsara vibhramaha. Nausthasya pratilomena naganam gamanam yatha atmanaha samsatistadvat ayati ishvati. Just as to a man in a boat, the trees appear to move in a direction opposite to his movement, so does Atma appear to transmigrate, appear to move. So Shankaracharya is saying that the appearing to think, appearing to know about, all this in the final analysis is what transmigration truly is, an appearance. In the Upadesha Sahasri also, Shankaracharya refers to two types of transmigration, two types of samsara. Samsara is literally movement, samsarati, samsara. So two types of movements, from one body to another, from one state of being to another, that is from waking to dream to sushupti. This is also understood validly as a type of transmigration. Shankaracharya writes that the notion that the Atman moves at all is only an appearance. Even the movement between the different states of being, between waking dream and dream sleep, the avasthaparaya prakriya is also demonstrated through this. Interestingly, Sureshwaracharya also gives a very similar example in his Naishkarma Siddhi. He says, Avikriyasya bhoktutvam syadaham buddhi vibhramat nauyana vibhramat yadvat nageshu gati kalpanam. One of the reasons for determining the Upadesha Sahasri as an undoubtedly authentic work of Shankaracharya is the fact that Sureshwaracharya quotes copiously from this particular work. There are other reasons, of course, but this is one of the primary reasons. I'll take one last example. One last example of the concept of Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukta is liberated while embodied. This is puzzling on many accounts. The physical body is considered a manifestation of the prarabdha karma, which is a part of realm of avidya. On the other hand, the knowledge of Brahman or ultimate reality is vidya. It is supposed to destroy avidya. So the attainment of Jivan Mukti raises a question. How is avidya after vidya possible? So in order to explain this, Shankaracharya uses a few examples. He says, knowledge does not destroy karma that has begun to fructify. It annihilates only anarabdha karma, that which has not begun to fructify. Arabdha karma, on the other hand, is like an arrow that follows its initial propulsion, it must complete its course to attain fruition. He writes that the continued bodily existence of the Jivanmukta is like potter's wheel that continues to rotate after the potter ceases his efforts. The Kulala Chakravat Pravutta Vegasya Antarale Pratibandha Sambhavat Bhavati Vegakshaya Pratipadanam. Further, he illustrates the persistence of ignorance in the Jivanmukta with an analogy. He says a person who has had visual correction, he continues to see two moons for some time. So the Jivanmukta remains in the physical form, continues to apprehend the physical phenomenal realm despite jnana. In his words, Jnanam Dvichandra Jnanavat Samskara Vashat Kanchit Kalam Anuvartata Eva. This is, of course, an Adhyarupa. It does not mean that there is a Vidya or a Vidya Lesha in the Jivanmukta. Later, elsewhere in the Upadesha Sahasri, for example, he says, Rate Sarpihi Todritya Kritam Tasmin Janna Purvat. Just as clarified butter extracted from milk does not become the same as before, is thrown back to it. So it is that the knower, once known from the not self, then never becomes embodied as the same Atman before. So in conclusion, Shankaracharya's approach to teaching transcends the boundaries of complexity. He effortlessly brings forth profound philosophical concepts in a very remarkably accessible manner by employing very relatable examples from everyday life. So this pedagogical finesse is a testament to his exceptional ability as a philosopher and as a teacher. And very happy to have gone through this on the occasion of Shankara Jayanti. Again, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share this with you. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to do.
Thank you, Manjushree, for that lucid presentation. I don't right now have any question, but one audience has commented saying that excellent presentation, madam. Despite your throat, you have taken the trouble to present such wonderful aspects of Shruti. These are better than the best of anecdotes in the entire world. I thank you for having brought them out so beautifully. Okay. If there are any questions, it'll be great. Okay. I have one curiosity to know who we can spread the oneness to the masses who are not educated to understand the meaning of all these verses. Otherwise, they sometimes dilute by different narratives.
I didn't entirely understand.
Curiosity to know how, I guess it is how, not who. How can we spread the oneness to masses who are not educated to understand the meaning of all these verses? Because otherwise they sometimes become diluted by different narratives.
You mean to say like
how to spread all this knowledge?
I mean, Shankaracharya is himself the best example. I honestly have not been able to do justice to this particular topic because he has used the most simple, the most beautiful examples, very, very relatable. I honestly did not have enough time to go through and pick out the best ones. I had to do what I could, remembering what I knew already instead of picking out the best ones. But honestly, his commentary is so simple. It is meant for the academician, yes, but also for the very simple person also. I mean, anybody knows a little bit of Sanskrit will be able to access it. And the analogies, metaphors are so simple that you will be able to understand very profound philosophy through these drishtantas. And I think that is the best way. Make it simple is okay. I mean, making it simple does not necessarily mean you're diluting the concept itself. It is possible to communicate the most profound philosophy through the simplest example. I mean, Shankaracharya is a testament to that. So it's not impossible, I think. Makes that point.
So Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada has rejected the theory of Jnana Karma Samuchaya in several places in his Bhashya. What exactly is meant by Jnana Karma Samuchaya and why does Shankara reject it?
Okay. When you say Jnana Karma Samuchaya, it simply means that action is required to realize yourself. That's all. You need to do something in order to realize who you are. That is all. This is what Jnana Karma Samuchaya means. The understanding requires action. And this is something that is so deeply rooted in us that it's very difficult to understand that no action is required. How is it not possible? How many times have I not heard the Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi? Where? What has happened? Nothing has changed for me. I continue my life as I am. So I must do something. I must do something to realize myself. So this notion of action required for moksha is very strong, very difficult to accept that action is not required. So Jnana Karma Samuchaya simply is this, that action is required, and Shankaracharya is very clear. No action is, see, the moment, when do I perform an action? It's only after I assume myself, as I'm a person, I'm Manjushree, I'm this body, this mind, this personality. Only after this Adhyasa has occurred does any action occur. So, and Atmajnana is prior to that. It is before that. The moment this has already occurred, anything you do after cannot remove something that is prior to it. It cannot cause Brahmajnana. This is what Shankaracharya's point is. He takes us very beautifully in the Upadesha Sahasraya. Why, after having heard Tattvamasi, why nothing happens? What should you do? So it's another discussion in time. But that in general is not karma.
Okay, thank you for that. And the next question is, how and where does Acharya differentiate between careless indolence and true Jivan Mukta state?
Careless?
Indolence.
Adolescence?
Indolence.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but I'm thinking that it's the state of Jivan Mukta, difference between.
Yeah, Jivan Mukta state and careless.
Okay, maybe, I mean, somebody who, the way I am understanding it, is it that
He means careless indolence, laziness, carelessness.
like that, like you take advantage of, I mean, declare that you're I am Brahman, therefore have nothing to do, etc. Is that what I'm thinking that might? But honestly, to say a person is a Jivan Mukta is also only an Adhyaropa. It will be negated later. There is an Apavada. See, that is the whole method of Vedanta, that the Adhyaropa and Apavada must be read together. They form a pair. You read one in isolation, there is a different conception that you get, and in order to prevent that particular conception, there is an Apavada. This is the method of Adhyaropa and Apavada. Something is stated. For example, I say that there is a Jivan Mukta. This is the way a Jivan Mukta will behave. There is a lot of descriptions regarding the behavior of a Jivan Mukta as well, how he is a Sthitapatnya, etc. This is found in the Brahma Sutra of the Bhagavadpada Bhashya. You find descriptions, various descriptions in the Bhashya. But at the same time, from another angle, does it mean that you and I are not Mukta already? Is there one person only who is a Jivan Mukta? Is Jivan Mukti, is Mukti then an occurrence that happens in time to a person? It is not. This very premise goes against the notion that of Brahman that is eternally attained, that is eternally Mukta. Nitya Buddha Mukta is the original premise. So even the concept of Jivan Mukti is only an Adhyaropa to be negated later. But again, it's useful, it serves a purpose. Every Adhyaropa serves a particular purpose, and it is a deliberate superimposition. The deliberation has happened in order to do the superimposition, so it serves its purpose. I'm not entirely sure if that answers the question.
Okay. Next is, Avidya is Adhyasa, which has projected on Jagat, on Brahman, like a snake on the rope. But please explain how such an unreal world has such draconian karma phala, and physical laws like dark energy and black holes?
See, again, to say that avidya is, I have to clarify that I belong to a particular school of Advaita Vedanta that argues that the entire method is Adhyaropa and Apavada. Avidya is also only an Adhyaropa. There is no avidya as such. There is no positive entity called avidya that is actually projecting the world, that creates the world, and then there's a dissolution. All of this is only Adhyaropa matra. This avidya is actually called Mula Adhyaropa. It is the fundamental Adhyaropa. Based on this Adhyaropa, all the other Adhyaropas are made. Apart from that, beyond that, we do not accept that any special create or to rival Brahman in anything. So there's a lot of debate on this, whether there are arguments that avidya has two types of powers. One is vikshepa. All of that is there, but that said, we only accept avidya as an adhyaropa that will be negated later.
Okay. I guess we don't have. Okay. Can you share experience of learning Advaita from a traditional teacher versus learning it in a university system?
See, the thing is, I feel like in a university system, you have a very set defined syllabus, and it's taught in a very dry manner by a person who may or may not believe it. There's an academic value to it. I feel there's advantage and disadvantages to both. In a traditional Gurukula type of learning, the learning is very intense, and it is much closer to you. It is not something that you're simply doing out of curiosity or for academic growth or career or objectives like that. My own guru, he always said that I will know if that you have understood the day you take sannyasa. That is the goal. When you attain vairagya from this world, that is the goal of having to study Advaita Vedanta. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, it's just another subject to study. Like, I mean, I might as well study physics or maths or something else if it's only a matter of career or something like that. The academic study is a very different approach. I feel like the advantage of an academic approach is there's a certain distance. That certain distance allows you to evaluate certain positions with more openness than otherwise. In a traditional Gurukula, a lot of times you don't require that distance is definitely not there, but that's a good thing in itself also. I mean, the purpose is different, so it works for that. Academic study, on the other hand, is very different. That is also required. I will not say academic study is not required, especially now we need more people. Even if you cannot go to a Gurukula and study, it's okay if you're studying it even in the university. You are contributing to the field, there's so much work that needs to be done. So, I mean, I will not undervalue academic study, but traditional learning is also not for everybody. While academic learning, like I said, everybody can do traditional learning. It requires a dedication, a commitment that it's very demanding. I mean, I have to be prepared for that. So,
yeah. So, question is, what do you mean by Nididhyasana?
Right. So again, this is there's a lot of debate about what Nididhyasana is. In the Bhamati Prasthana, for example, Nididhyasana is understood as a type of meditation that leads to samadhi. In my school of thought, what we argue is the adopting of the method of Anvaya Vyatirika. Okay, to understand what this aham is. Okay, to stay constantly with the the sense of I, is very different from meditation, like is very different from the dharana dhyana samadhi type of meditation. There are there are a lot of upasanas prescribed in the Upanishads, but these upasanas are like the karma kanda, in the sense that there is phala, there is a process of meditation, there's a subject, there's an object, there's a meditation that occurs like karma, there is a phala. This is upasana, this is meditation. Nididhyasana is not like this, in the sense that there is not this separation of subject and object. You don't keep an object for meditation and meditate upon it. Here you are sort of turning the light inwards and trying to understand what this I is. You're staying with the I. Again, if I have to say it, it sounds like there's a duality there, but this is different from meditations, where there is an object of meditation involved. Here, the subject and the object is the same. It's simply an examination of what the I is. It is Viveka. The Anvaya Vyatireka method promotes Viveka. Viveka of what I am is understood by understanding what I am not. So this is sort of, I cannot explain the whole thing very briefly, but just enough to understand that this I, holding on to I am, maybe sort of thought of as Nididhyasana.
Okay, thank you for answering all those questions. So we come to the end of session. Audiences, see you again today evening at 7 p.m. We have another interesting talk. Advaita and J. Krishnamurti's teaching in the light of Adi Shankaracharya, Bhagavad-Gita Bhashya by Krishnamurti ji. See you again in the evening. Thank you.